fire it up here. This is a cold start. The chambered exhaust system. Out for a drive here, check things out this morning. Let's see.
Finding it to be arbitrary and capricious.
All right, go for a roll. Chambered exhaust system for the 68 Camaro. This is a 2.5-inch system. You'll see that there are no tailpipes. We're going to make those and as close to factory stock looking as possible. Get ready to pull it into LHT. Get this exhaust system straightened out. You can hear it rattling. I don't know if you can hear it in the video, but it rattles. Got leaks everywhere. John's going to get it straight. looks good. Yeah, it looks really good. Got the first start going. John and George took care of this exhaust, made it right. We're definitely going to do some more tweaking on it further down the line. More things are going to be coming, probably headers, a few other little changes, but we're going to still stick with the basic chambered system that I started with and just make improvements and enhancements to it. We're out here by the airport this morning. It's a pretty cool backdrop, really. And go over a few things that were done and explain exactly what had to be done to get this thing where it was actually fitting correctly. There's some rattles, but then again, it's a it's a 53-year-old car, so you got to expect that. And I'm chasing those rattles down. I know I got an e-brake rattle. The e-brake cable is touching the pipes a little bit here, and so I'm going to do a little adjusting there. And again, we're going to do some more tweaking on this system. Well, for the most part, John and George did a phenomenal job on getting this really squared away. Car is dirty, but it kind of stays that way. She's a driver. You guys know that. Not a garage clean here at all. A little bit of mudslinging. When I went down to see the guys, I had to stop for fuel. This car don't like to shut off on its own unless there's at least 100 octane in the tank. So I stopped at McMullen Booth Oil, I think it's called, and I got 110 octane leaded fuel, and I did a mix, and now I can shut the car off without having to engine brake it. High compression, it won't run on straight pump fuel. As you can see, there's some really great symmetry here. Everything's fitted really, really nicely. The tailpipes are as they're supposed to be. They're oval shaped, just like the factory would have made them. Tailpipes were made in stainless steel. They're all TIG welded, beautifully centered and set. The chambered cross transverse muffler is tucked in there nice and neat. The chamber tubes that are underneath the car are tucked in nice and neat. So the system really looks good. They had to fix the right or passenger side header pipe. It was on the wrong trajectory, so they cut it, did a little tweaking and bending, and re-welded the thing back together again. The weld is down there just past the heat riser, about 8 inches down the tube. And they did a nice job TIG welding that back together. Beautiful. It's a little 327. It is the original numbers matching engine. It's got a set of fuelie heads on it, 202 power packs. They are day 2 add. They are 3 days date code correct to the engine. And they have all sorts of goodies underneath those factory valve covers. I had to use 2 gaskets, like a double gasket, in order to get the clearance for the roller rockers. There's a set of Crowler, I believe. They're stainless steel roller rockers. They're not the aluminum style, and they sit high in that valve cover. So I had to raise the valve cover, crush the vent boxes in there just to make clearance for those roller rockers. Factory exhaust manifolds, like I said, they're going to be the next day 2 mod. We're going to go ahead and pull those, set them aside, and I'm looking at headers for the car. I'm still working on figuring out which way I want to go there. It may be, let's see, Stahl. Stahl originally made the headers for these cars back in the early, in the 60s when this car came out. They were one of the originators for headers for the car. They're a proven race header. Penske used them and a few other race teams used them. They fit well and they work well with this engine. There's also the original reproductions of the ones that came in the trunk, originally made by Bill Thomas Race Engines out of Anaheim, California. And this is kind of a tribute to that in the Nicky Chevrolet franchise. So I'm thinking about actually going with a really nice set of reproduction Bill Thomas headers that were made for this car, for the Z28 back in '67. The traction bars are real. So this is a really nice day 2 tribute to that era and that car and that particular supercar. I can get a good shot in there or not. Yeah, I think so. Went ahead and made those tags as well for the torque thrust wheels. These are original 1967 torque thrust with a set of Coker reproduction Firestone wide ovals, Super Sports. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fire this thing up. One hit, really nice. Once it's warmed up, it's really good for starting. She's cold-blooded. release the e-brake, it goes away. So we're going to go ahead and insulate that so we don't have that rattle anymore. Really good with the torque thrust on it. I had to pull the Craigers. The Craigers have original tires. They're over 50 years, well, they are 50 years old, 49 years old actually, almost 50 years old. And I just didn't want to drive on the interstate with 50-year-old tires. So we went ahead and pulled the Craigers off, put the torque thrust back on to make the trip down to LHT safely. It would really suck to get in an accident, possibly hurt someone, tear up the quarter panels of the car if tire lets loose. Just not worth it. So we put the safety tires back on. Look great. I'll have the Craigers back on here soon. I think I'm going to roll with the torque thrust for a while. I also have white walls with hubcaps. I get yelled at a lot out of traffic. That ain't stock. When they see the little hubcaps and white walls and they listen to this thing, it's got a pretty good chop to it. I think the car looks really great with the torque thrust, the green color, the Sequoia green. Those wheels really pop. I want to thank everyone down at LHT again for getting this thing straightened out for me. I really appreciate it. Definitely enjoying the car a lot more now, even though I've only gotten to drive it, to drive home from LHT, which is about 65 miles from our shop up here in Brooksville. And then of course driving it out here this morning, taking my son to work. It's just a pleasure. It sounds amazing. The leaks are gone. It's just so smooth. There's no drone with this system. It's just a very nice, smooth, when you're up on plane, you're doing 70 miles an hour up on the highway, there's just nothing. It's sound, but no, hum that's in your head or anything like that. And it's just a really pleasant, thunderous kind of a sound that it has. It's not one of those things that just kind of drones out your ears and hurts. I have plenty of those, and they're not good. This is probably, this is like the third system that's been on the car now. Actually, the Gardner, I originally, when I had the Gardner on there, I had their TurboFlow muffler, which looks stock but has, different baffling in it, so it has a sound like this. And then I kept the Gardner, but I changed the muffler to Gardner's factory stock muffler. So in that sense is why I call it like two systems, because it's one's with the TurboFlow and one's with the stock muffler, even though all the piping is all the same. So when I had the TurboFlow on there, the car really never sounded good. It sounded good at idle like this. When I put the stock muffler on it, it sounded much better, but it was very mellow. It didn't have a good, muscle car sound. It sounded pretty decent at idle, but once you got it up the plane, moving along 40, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, it was quiet, just like any other street car quiet. This car has a nice rumble to it. As you're going through the gears, you hear it. When you downshift it, you hear it. It sounds like a muscle car. It sounds, proper, as it should. Like it looks is how it sounds. And that's what we're looking for, and what I wanted to achieve was lot better. I'm probably going to add a good 30 horsepower to the car, and that's going to make this thing sound even more muscle car-like. And of course, the carburetor, which is down at the carburetor man's shop now, I dropped that off when I went down to see John. They're basically in the same area there in Pinellas Park, and he's restoring that 780 CFM. And there's some interesting stories to see and talk about on that carburetor when I have it back. We'll talk about that some more. The car's been on the road now for about 2 years.